If you are a crumper or a dancer who's interested in crump, I've got something unique coming to you tonight. My name is Jason McGarva. I'm your host and also a crumper. I'm recording this because I wanted to have a different kind of conversation about crump than what you'd typically see online. There are hundreds of videos of amazing dancers at sessions, at battles, teaching classes, and so on. But I haven't seen anything out there yet that focuses on exclusively on what Crump can do for your consciousness and what it can do for your character if you devote yourself to learning it. I really believe that Crump is not only an amazing and expressive art form, that's what drew me to it, but it's really a powerful and amazing path of growth just as a human being, or at least it has been for me. And so that's what my guest and I are going to talk about. Now, I'm joined by Ian DeMello. He's the creator of the Warrior Buck program. Ian is one of my teachers, and his program was really important for me because it didn't just focus on the moves. There are a lot of programs that focus on how to do the moves, but Ian's program also focuses on how you can transform yourself through Crump, and that is unique. So whether you are an experienced crumper doing sessions every week, or if you're just getting started, or if you just watched the movie Rise and you're like, I don't know what this is, I don't know why, but I got to know more about this. I hope this conversation is valuable for you. So let me welcome you, Ian DeMello.
Man, what an intro. Thank you so much for that. And I second everything that you said about what Krump can do. And I'm super excited to have this conversation. It's been a while since I've had a conversation like this, and a lot of growth has happened since then, and a lot of expansiveness in my world around what Krump is for me and how to even teach it, how to facilitate it in a way that is specific to what you just shared. So I'm super excited to have this conversation and dig deeper. And yeah, man, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So for those who don't know who you are, can you talk a little bit about, your journey through Crump, what attracted you
Yeah.
to it, and, what has it done for you, and where are you
Yeah,
at now?
yeah, definitely. So I started so yeah, Ian DeMello, my Crump name. I've got different styles. Maybe we'll get into that in a little bit. But I go by Hood, which stands for Healing Ourselves Overpowers Demons. I started crump dancing when I was 15. I was dancing before then because I loved hip hop and just started researching about the culture and what it actually is and what it stood for. But yeah, I started crump at 15 by my sister giving me a Rise DVD. And she was like, yo, there's this new dance out. And I put it into the DVD player straight away. I watched it twice in a row. And then I was just like so drawn to how expressive they were and how raw they were. And at the time, like 15, I was obviously going through fucking puberty and I stopped feeling safe at home. Felt like I always had to walk on eggshells and stuff. And I knew that I needed an outlet to express myself with. And seeing other 15-year-olds or teenagers do this dance and not give a damn about what they even looked like really resonated with me because everything else was about how you looked. Like, yeah, there's fashion and stuff in hip hop and everything, but at that point, I think hip hop had developed to a point where image was a lot, even in just like how you dressed, obviously how you moved as well. But Crump was somewhat the opposite of that. It was still a seedling. At some point, at sometimes I still feel like it is because it's only what, like 20 years old or something. Yeah, from there, just fell in love with it, started like realizing how much I needed it. I'm an OG of Perth. I've been teaching at youth centers, all different age groups, all different ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, prisons, schools, like pretty much any space I've taught in, and I love it. And yeah, I just can. This is why I'm still in the work. The more I deepen my practice, the more I understand more about what Crump actually can be and what it is for me and what I wish to share with other people as well. What else is there? Yeah, I've been battling and, doing the real heavy Crump advocacy since 15 years old, man. I didn't know what it was like to be a leader I just kind of got like put into that role and didn't really have any mentors around leadership or anything like that, how to communicate effectively and all that stuff. And Krump was my voice and still is to an extent, but now I know how to communicate more effectively and you know how to share how to share other like myself with others and be okay with that and feel okay with that in my body around that. And I also believe that like Crump helped me with that, like gaining that self-confidence to share myself in a different way and continuously grow. Yeah, I've done theater shows, I've won tournaments, I've done everything under the sun when it comes to like Crump. I kind of felt like the street dance world has a cap on it and has had a cap on it for a really long time, just in regards to what it is and where it can go and how it can impact the world, I would say.
Yeah, your journey through Crump is very different than mine. I'm probably much older than most Crumpers. At the time of this recording, I'm 48, and I got into it in my early 40s. I also watched
Awesome.
Rise back, probably back in 2005 or six when it first came out. I was attracted to the trailer because someone in the trailer said it's like getting your anger out on the dance floor. And even back then, I knew that I needed a way to process my anger because I struggled with that. So I was
Right.
very drawn to it. And I went and I found there's like nothing online. So I found the Crump 1.0 and 2.0 DVDs from Tight Eyes, the original people who started all this, and I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't have a background in dance. And I quickly realized when I was watching the videos, like, oh, there's an assumption here that I know how to do a lot of this stuff that they're saying, and I couldn't do it.
Mm,
So
mm,
I let it go. I let it go for a while. Many years later, I I had been going to this yearly hip hop blowout. There was a local community theater in Providence, Rhode Island. I was living there at the time called the Everett Theater, I believe. And I just wandered in there one day. I was looking for something to do, and I love dance. I was watching So You Think You Can Dance every
yeah.
year, and they had this show with these teenagers and little kids, and they were doing like a performance of hip hop. And I'm like, I want to go see this, and I loved it so much that I started going every year. And probably 7 or 8 years later, after going year after year, they had this one performance where this one young lady, she was probably 17 or 18, she came up, neck tattoo, looked really, really intense. And she just went and crumped by herself, nobody cheering her on. And I'm in the seats watching her, and I felt my heart open bigger than I'd ever felt it open before. And I never felt
Wow.
anything like that by watching somebody do crump. And I'm like, what is that? I don't not understand this, but I remembered seeing the movie, so I went and watched it again.
Nice.
And and then at that point, I had moved to Boston, and so I looked for a teacher, and I found a local teacher here. I think he goes by Stiggity Stacks. That's how I got my start taking lessons, and he was great. He was great. Then I happened to find Sherwin Salonga, aka Beast, online, and we did a lesson on Zoom. And I was so moved and impressed by the way he taught that I work on the internet, so I can live anywhere. So I packed up my stuff and moved to LA for about 4 months so I can take lessons with him. It's like something in me, I don't know where it was located, but something in me told me I needed to go and be around this. And so that's what I did. I trained with him for 4 months. I also trained online with Big Miho. We also have Russell Ferguson, aka Gutter. He's the season 6 winner of So You Think You Can Dance. Boston's very lucky to have him. And he was one
Nice.
of the people who was doing classes during the pandemic, and I so appreciated that. One of
Mm.
my favorite sayings in Crump ever came from him, which was, if you want to have strength, you got to use strength. And I remembered that. That was a good one.
That is a good one.
So we have some really great people here, and
That's awesome.
it's tough, man, because a lot of guys get into Crump, and I like I'm like this internet, nerdy business guy, and I'm showing up at these classes, and
Yeah.
I'm like I have no background in dance. So like I had like a year of country line dancing, which doesn't really count when you're going into Crump. So
Yeah.
so I go and thank God for my teachers, giving me the basics. And I was the guy in the back, like clutching my asthma inhaler, trying to keep up.
Mm.
And in LA, like everyone is a really, really good dancer, even in the dance classes. Like
Yeah.
a completely different level. It's meant a lot to me over the years, and I noticed how I've changed. I've changed a
Mm,
lot through Crump, not just through personal growth. And I do a lot of personal growth, but Crump has been a really important part of my personal growth. And
mm,
that's where I wanted to kind of angle this conversation because there are so many videos online about who's the best dancer. I really don't care. I'm 48 years old, dude. I don't give a shit. You know,
yeah.
I don't care who
Yeah.
beat who back in 2010. Doesn't matter at
Right.
all to me. I got into it for my reasons. In the beginning, I didn't know what those reasons were. I was attracted to the fact that you could do something with your anger in a
Yeah.
creative and an expressive in a cool looking way. And that was
Yeah.
enough for me. So
Mm,
it was very intimidating. You know, my first actual session was in Los Angeles. It was when Beast was teaching a class, and the session had like it must have had like 30 or 40 people there. It was Beast, it was Big Miho, Tight Eyes, and Yaya Vankova, all in the same place. And I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and film everybody,
yeah.
man. I'm not getting in that circle. But it was a really amazing way to see like the power of the energy that Crump can create. And
Yes.
from the outside, I know it looks like a bunch of scary, angry people, but it was not that. It was like being in the eye of a hurricane. It was peaceful in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
around people who busted their ass for their craft. I remember my first teacher, Stax, in Boston. One of the first things he said to me, he's like, crumpers are different, man. You can go take a salsa lesson, learn your basics, and you can be dancing with somebody in an hour. In Crump, you can't do shit for months. You know, you just got to drill. You got to put in the work before you can do anything. And that's a
Yeah.
different kind of person. And
Yeah.
I just kept meeting one person like that after another. And I was so impressed by the work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested in your perspective. You've probably done other dances. In your experience, how's Crump different than what else is out there, from hip hop, from popping and so on? And particularly in terms of its ability to help someone grow.
I think that Krump is different due to how it's structured and the different components that Krump actually holds. Not just in the dance, but also just in the culture as a whole. You need to know how to session. When you get to battles, you need to know how to prepare for battle, just like a warrior does. You also need to know how to exchange energy. And obviously, the hype, such a massive part of Krump. To me, hype is another word for support. And it doesn't just end, the hype doesn't just end there. How can I say this? Like, I'm kind of jumping around because there's so much, like, that's such a loaded question. So, yeah, with the hype part, the support, you have to do it in dance, and it also allows you to support outside of dance and teaches you how to support people outside of dance if the facilitation is about that. Some people just teach, like you were mentioning, just about foundation, like basics and foundation as well, but they don't attach life skills to it. Even just the dance itself gives people the tools to truly tap into and inquire within themselves. That's what I feel like it does better than any other dance style, because in Krump, you have to speak. It's a mandatory thing that you share yourself with whoever's there in the session, in the battle. Battles end up being conversations. We don't battle just to show off our moves. We battle because we've got something to say, and that's been from the get-go of Crump, because due to, how it was birthed and where it was birthed as well. That all played a part in it. You have to be authentic as well. And I know that may sound cliche, and even watching footage of Crumpers nowadays, I see a lot of clones, because all they're focusing on is basics instead of the actual internal work. Like over the years, I put two and two together, like, damn, Crump is like the creators of Crump are like high key geniuses, but I don't know if they know how much like impact it actually has on people, because it's probably not really spoken about. Like people can just say, yeah, Crump changed my life. Yeah, but how? Continuously inquire about that. And it being a freestyle dance, a lot of the work that I'm doing at the moment is how to share Krump with people that are looking for something that isn't therapy, but is at the same time. And I believe that Krump can really, like, Krump is an art form. It's creativity, it's spirituality, it's emotion, it's physicality, it's mentality. It's all the alities in one present moment. And I figured that out, I would say, like halfway through my career. And ever since then, I've just been cultivating that and still doing my best to actually understand what it is about Krump that creates that for people.
It's hard to know what it is
Go ahead.
specifically because there's
Yeah.
so much, there's so many different things. And one example that came to me as I was preparing for this is your relationship with Crump reflects how you think about relationships. You know, I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. Like one big way that Crump has helped me to grow is actually being in the session itself. I grew up as an awkward kid. I'm on the autism spectrum, so I grew up being like an outsider, always looking in, not
Yeah.
not one of the cool kids at all, like
Yeah.
at all. And so the idea of being in the middle of a circle of people with a lot of energy focused on you, that was scary.
Yeah.
And that I guess they call the circle the cipher. And
Yeah.
the cipher is it's an interesting mirror because if you are closed off to other people, it will show right away. And so
Oh,
I
100%.
yeah, I grew in my ability to not only receive the energy of others being in the cipher and like allowing it to lift me up without being so afraid that it was going to come with a knife attached to it. Like
Yeah.
I was that's what I always expected when people put attention on me in school growing up. There was always some kind of barb. So
Yeah.
it was hard to de-armor
That's,
myself,
yes.
and Crump helped to me to de-armor. But then also when I was on the outside of the circle trying to give hype, I was awkward as shit. I didn't know what to do. Like I didn't know how to sound natural like the other guys did. But what's funny is after I did Crump for about 4 years and I put it down about a year ago, although I have a renewed interest in it. So we'll see if I keep going.
Yeah.
When you get older, you want to focus on other things. But I
Yeah.
find when I'm playing sports now, like when somebody makes a good shot or something, I'm like, oh, and it comes out of me automatically. And that is direct
Uh,
result of Trump that I'm able to
Yeah.
cheer other people on easily
Yes.
as a result.
Yes.
So there's something that it does, like when you can become someone who can allow yourself to be supported by others and then also support others without ego. It's amazing. And I remember there was something you said actually in your Warrior Buck program. I was looking through my notes there, like a whole bunch of notes.
Love
If
it.
you're a narcissist in Crump, the hype will feed your ego, not your heart.
Yes.
And that one that one landed because I think like Crump is kind of like a hall of mirrors that shows you who you are. It shows
Yes.
you your consciousness. It shows you where you're weak. It exposes your work ethic for sure. It exposes your discipline or lack of discipline. It does so much.
Yes, it brings up a lot. Like as you're sharing, I'm just like, I love how you said Crump helps you de-armor because it definitely does. But a lot of people don't want to be de-armored because it's obviously that means vulnerability, and vulnerability is seen as weakness, or like that, like a lot of people are just scared to be that, right? What the main point that came to me is that it shows you who you are so that you can rebuild yourself to be who you want to be, right? And you have to know who you are in the present moment to then de-armor yourself and then rebuild yourself because you can't rebuild a house if it's got all of its foundation already, right? You have to break it down from either the outside or the inside, depending on how you want to renovate that thing. You know what I mean? But to rebuild or to renovate, you have to go through like demolition
It's
so
funny.
that you
Crump
can
teaches you how to
renovate.
both put armor on and take armor off for
100%.
the same thing. You got to know how to
Yes.
put on armor, but also be vulnerable. It's a very contradictory thing, but if you've
Yeah. Yeah.
been around it, it shows. You get it.
At the time when I started for the first, I would say 10 years, there was a whole heap of like feeling like I needed to prove myself. And that obviously comes from my upbringing and stuff like that. But then also add Crump to that. That's added pressure of proving yourself and like seeking outside validation to be like a worthy Crump dancer type thing. I always share with my clients, like material is the fancy shit that gets you hype and people like. It's the commercial aspect of Krump, the hat tricks and the shoe tricks and stuff. Like it's all dope though. I'm not knocking it. But does that really allow you to dig into your spirit and activate different levels of consciousness? And yeah, obviously you're working creatively, so your brain's working even more and more and more. But to me, what's the most important thing about Crump is how you feel whilst you're doing it. You know, if you go back to Rise days, arm swings were called explosions, and everything that they had to say was in one arm swing, was in one chest pop. But now it's like, what material can you pull out your butt? You know what I'm saying? How creative can you be? Which is good. It's all well and good, and it's necessary to build your repertoire and creativity and your limitlessness. But at the same time, where I'm at now and have been for years now is like if my spirit, if my soul and whatever I'm connected to, the higher power that I'm connected to is limitless, I don't need material. And that allows me to connect more on a spiritual tip in the present moment, specifically in the session. However, I battle the same way that I session. I just prepare a little bit more for a battle, and even going into battles, you have to prepare your spirit, you have to prepare your mind because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how you're going to have to show up. Whereas in the session, the goal is freedom. I watch vets, even vets sometimes, bro. They're so in their head about the moves that they're doing. For me, as an OG of my city and a vet in the whole Crump spectrum, that's so outdated. Like, why are you if you're in your head when you're dancing, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You're not actually in flow, like, yeah, you can have thoughts come in and you can decide whether you want to use them. But if you're not flexing the muscle of like actual flow state and actual like connection to the present moment, you're doing yourself a disservice and the people around you too.
Well, I'm a big believer in the long on-ramp whenever you want to learn something. I mean, everybody wants to, step one, take a Crump class. Step two, get on Instagram. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. And I think
Nah.
for me in particular, I've had moments where it felt like I was channeling, the
Oh yeah.
divine through me, through
All the
my
time.
movements. And I'm not even good. Like compared to you guys, I'm not good. But I have had moments where I did cool shit that I could never do ever,
Yes.
when I'm in my head ever. And
Yes.
that was
100%.
to me, that felt like a profound gift to
Oh
get
yeah.
to experience that. I felt like I was Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, like bringing another character and, through me. And it was so
Yeah.
cool. I was thinking about the fact that Crump is the only thing I ever practiced. I did it for 4 years,
Mm,
and I tried guitar. And I went and bought this like Fender Stratocaster and this big amplifier, and then I barely practiced. I did martial arts for years, but I only practiced in class. So I
yeah.
was practicing every day, Crump, just doing drills, but I didn't know like what to do or how to lab. So I was doing mostly like floppy fish Crump. I'm sure I didn't look amazing because it was confusing. That whole process was confusing to me, but it felt
Mm,
good to devote myself to something like that. And I had a slow start for sure. But when I saw Sherwin's way of teaching, in particular, it showed me not only how to learn better, but also how to teach. And I think
mm,
you've got that too, because I'm a teacher as well. I lead workshops on relationships and communication skills. And I would always coach my clients through corrective feedback. And
mm,
the way that you teach, and also Sherwin for sure, is through positive reinforcement. And I didn't know how to do that.
yeah.
He would give simple instructions, and then as the moment that I hit it, he'd be like, "Yes, that immediately, like within a split second." And that was motivating.
Mm,
There's a funny story about how to teach that really stuck with me. And I tried this experiment on my own in one of my workshops, and it worked. This is something I read online. I don't know the source, but I put everybody into a circle, and I said, "I want to show you guys a lesson about teaching. So I need a volunteer." And I said, "You need to leave the room, go far away from the circle, and I'll come find you." And then I said to the rest of the group, "Okay, this person's going to come in and he's going to walk into the circle, and then the game begins. He has to figure out that he has to do one specific movement, which is to walk over to this person, take their baseball hat off, and then turn around and walk over and put it on someone else's head. The only feedback you can give him is that when he does anything else, when he does something wrong, that's not in the direction of what he's supposed to be doing, you need to all at the same time scream the word no. So just
Whoa.
imagine the guy comes in. I explained the game to him, and then he turns this way. Everyone's like, no. He turns this way. No. He bends down to touch his toes. No. And this went on for 5 minutes. And finally, he
Damn.
just stood there paralyzed. Like he couldn't figure out what to do because everything was a no.
Right.
So I was like, all right, go back outside and shake it off. And we'll do round two now, which will be easier. Round two, I explained this to the group. The guy comes back. As soon as he enters the circle, the game begins. This time, the only feedback you can give him is that when he moves in the direction that's toward going to get the guy's hat, you applaud.
Mm,
So
mm.
he walks in, he's turning, and then people start applauding. And so he starts walking in that direction, the applause stops. So he turns this way, the applause starts again. And then
Oh,
within like 30 seconds, he's over and he's got the guy's hat. And he's like,
yeah.
then he doesn't know what to do. He's putting it on himself, no sound,
Yeah.
turns around,
Yeah.
the applause starts again. Within like
Yes.
90 seconds, he figured it out. And that was such a powerful
Oh.
lesson for everybody about how to teach. There are
Mm,
a lot of teachers in Krump, and not just in Krump, in any art form. Their way
yeah.
of teaching is telling you everything you're doing wrong and how your
Mm,
movements suck. And it's not motivating. It's hard to get good that way unless you enjoy that kind of, instruction. I don't. So
yeah.
I was really drawn to the way that you guys teach, you and Sherwin, and some of the other teachers as well in Boston. There's a big difference between somebody who teaches through criticism and somebody who teaches through praise. If I could just share one thing as a teacher to other Crumb teachers, please make that switch because your students will want to come back.
Mhm.
They'll want to pay you for private lessons. They'll want to come to your classes because they feel like
Yeah.
they're doing it right. If everything
Yes.
is you're trash, no, this is crap. Oh, you're not as good as I am. Who cares? Like only you care
Yeah.
about that. I don't care how good you
Yeah.
think you are. I'm here to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
So Crump really showed me like how to be a better teacher, and
Mm,
it showed me that I wasn't as good as I thought I was as a teacher. So that's one of the
yeah.
things I'm grateful for. Um, Moving on, I'm curious. So, in your opinion, how does Crump help dancers like confront and process their emotional wounds? Because we bring
Yeah.
our pain into this dance. This is not like we're not trying to be like a happy dance, right? This is a dance where we bring all the emotions, including the darker spectrum.
I think put really simply, firstly, it's just we hold space for that. We allow that. We welcome that. When someone's really getting off, that's why it's called the get off, right? Crump allows us to release the struggle that we're going through.
It also
Uh,
allows us to make the struggle beautiful, you
oh
know?
yeah, 100%. Definitely, bro. And that's the beauty of Crump. Everything is welcome there. And we hold space for that. It's literally like going to a breathwork session, or it's like going to therapy, or in the personal development space, there's like rage exercises where you're just like, and you're like really tuning into your rage or whatever and letting it out there. Crump is a healthy way of doing that. And it's an artistic way of doing that, which actually activates more of everything than just releasing the rage. Even if you're doing it subconsciously, but being able to be intentional and aware about where you're actually coming from increases emotional intelligence as well. What I take my clients through is going through specific emotions, like whether it be sadness, like I want you to tap into the saddest like part of yourself or like experience that you've experienced and dance sad, because anger is the first level and then you have everything that's underneath the anger. Like Crump allows you to dig really deep into yourself and inquire, but first to do that you need to be able to listen to yourself and listen to your body. And after that, you have to make sure that you celebrate too. Give yourself compassion, grace. So I'm not sure whether we did this or not, but if I've worked specifically with one-on-one clients, or I do something, a program like Warrior Buck, and I'm teaching about dimensions, or we're doing an exercise that's focused on doing this like transmutive energetic work. Krump is the bridge, Buck is the ocean, the depths of who you are, and liveness is celebration and openness. When we're entertaining the bridge, where it's like we're seeing what's there or feeling what's there, and then we go into our buck to grab the things that are in our ocean, which is our being, resurfacing them so they can then be transmuted into openness and celebration. So a bang just isn't a move now. It's liberation from the thing that, whether it be an emotion, it be a situation, it be a person, doesn't matter. That's where the substance comes from. That's where authenticity comes from. That's where you get to actually create your style and your character, because your character is you. It's just a higher version of you. Or it's either the higher version of you, or it's different aspects of you that you still wish to play out and transmute and like work on. That's, for me, that's what character is. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, yeah, my character's Venom, or my character's like an anime character, and that's what I base my character off of, which is all good. But just make sure it resonates, like it truly resonates with you, and you're not doing it just because you think that that's the right thing to do and how to create a character. There's so much more work in Krump than being flashy and having everything set out for yourself. A personal experience for me, I guess I would just go back to when I was 15. And the first time I threw my arm swings and used my chest, I felt tribal. I felt primal in my energy. I felt so good after throwing out all of the emotion that I knew and didn't know that I had in my, that was just held in my body, even if it was towards my parents, because they were going through challenges and stuff. And for me at that young age, I didn't know how else to voice myself. And especially if you're someone that doesn't know how to, or wishes that he or she can open up more and like express yourself more vocally. To me, expressing through your body to release that like limitation, or like those thoughts, or the feeling of like, nah, I'm not worth people's energy and time. The words coming out of my mouth aren't worthy, or I'm not deserving of that. Because each time I did when I was younger, I would get shut down. And that was my experience finding Krump and allowing myself to express and just throw and like move my body in ways that makes me feel so alive and so free. That's already the work. Krump takes work, it definitely does. But at the same time, if you can open yourself up and surrender to all of you, you will learn Krump way faster. You will know how to express yourself authentically and more vulnerably and creatively if you fully surrender. And Krump, as the tool, will show itself even more to you, because you have to spend time with Krump, which for me is spending time with myself. And I think this is what people don't see. I'll say everybody has their reason to be in Krump. How people want to do it is up to them. Do I feel like people are missing out on certain aspects of Krump? 100%. And then even for my clients as well, like I just put them in the situations that they're asking for, really. If they come to me and they're like, yo, I don't feel confident. I'm like, okay, why? Like, tell me why you're not feeling confident. We'll hash out a little bit, and then I'll be like, okay. Once they get to an aha moment, I'm like, okay, dance. I'll just say it in this way. Go from the negative to positive, but take yourself into the negative, feel what you need to feel about the negative, and then break out of it and celebrate and get live. Because like even for me now, when I'm in a session and it's not authentic, I'll know straight away if that arm swing ain't, if I'm not feeling an arm swing, I know why, because you still have armor on. And whenever someone breaks through their mind, I hype that because there is fake hype out there, fake support out there all the time. And I don't think that it's actually healthy. I think that a little bit of it is good, just to build the muscle and like support the people, especially if they're new in it, but also make sure that you're hyping even more when they break through a limit. Not do a good move, but break through a limit. It's very different.
Yeah,
Right.
I appreciate the depth of your answer. One of the things that I'm working on in my own life is I'm building an assertiveness training that I would like to
Mm.
put kids through, teenagers. And I want to develop like a scale of 1 to 10, like if someone's like, what are you looking at? And the person's like, nothing, I'm not looking at you. That's not very powerful, right? It's like a
Right.
two on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, now do it at a 10. Okay, now do it
Still
at
do
a
it.
3. Now do it at an 8. Because one of my theories, and I haven't tried this yet, so this is new for me, that the bullies in schools could actually be the teachers if they learn to control their anger. Because usually they go from 0 to 100% anger and aggression. But if you take away the on-off switch and you put a dial, so then they can see what 10% anger looks like, enough to make
Yes.
your point without
Yeah.
making people afraid. Because if you're,
Yes.
if you have the gift of strength, then the gift you can offer is helping other people feel strong and helping other people feel safe. So
Yeah.
with regard to confident, it would be fun to like try to express something as a wuss. Okay, now express it as like,
Yes.
a middle ground. Now just be ridiculous, and just be
Yeah,
overconfident,
exactly.
like Tony Soprano, just ridiculous, got mobster with the
Right.
cigar hanging out of his mouth, just
Right.
go for it and then dial it back to what feels right for you. But clear the
Yeah.
pipes, like clear your
Yeah.
emotional pipe. That's one thing Crump is so good for. It's like an emotional pipe cleaner.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Something as well, just to touch on that. I love that example, bro. Is like I think that's why Crump is so intimidating to a lot of people because it looks like a bully. Whereas if you really spend time with Crump, and I think it's the work of Crumpers to do this is like whenever we're showcasing, showcase differently. Dance to a softer track, dance to a more exposing track where you can just be in the detail, the minute details of Krump. And that's what we got our students to do at one point when we were in business, like myself and Nadia were in business together with 1010. We put certain people on to express their story in the way that they wanted to express their story. And it was so powerful, bro. Even just freestyle in general, but I will say Krump first because I'm obviously a Krump dancer. Not every freestyler gets into this. When people think of freestyle, they just think free movement. But do they actually do the work of it, connecting with their emotion and connecting with their past and using that as material, connecting with their present, using that as material, connecting to their who they want to be in the future or their spirit in the present moment? You can make everything prompt and make everything felt and not corny. And if you do the work, if you self-inquire, if you ask yourself powerful questions, and that's actually what I'm doing at the moment. I'm doing it for an overall freestyle mastery, like as a freestyle mastery service, which is going through small things or these types of exercises and giving them to people. Yeah, and it will just be in like a booklet, notebook type of form. That's how I want to do it. Yeah, I might do it in video. I'm not 100% sure yet, but be on the lookout for that because I'm super excited about that and spending a lot of time and energy in it.
There was something you said, I think it was early on in Warrior Buck. There's your ego's why, the reason you're drawn to Crump based on your ego. Like, oh, I'm gonna look so cool. I'm gonna make videos of myself. But then there's God's why, and there's kind of a dance in between those two. I came
Yes.
I came into Crump not to look cool. I never thought I would look cool, but I came in to have a way to process anger and other difficult emotions, not just anger. Because
Yeah.
so the reason I needed that was because I wasn't really allowed to express anger as a kid in a healthy way. So
Same.
I had nowhere for it to go. If I tried to get angry, it came out as ugly and then I was punished for it. And so I never got any education about anger or how to use it. how to
Yes.
channel the energy without being a jerk to others.
Right.
So Krump was huge for that. And there was something else that came up too. One way that Krump really did help change me. So I've done personal growth since I was 15, and I'm 48 now. I started with Tony Robbins. I went to a Tony Robbins workshop. I walked on fire. I've done so many
Yep.
workshops. I've been trying to improve myself for longer than I haven't, always trying to
Yeah.
be the best version of myself. And because I'm a public speaker and a subject matter expert, I can learn something and then turn right around and speak about it as if I know what I'm talking about. And that's a
Mm,
strength and a weakness. And one
mm,
way that Crump really changed me was that it became like negative personal growth. And what I mean is, in normal personal growth, you're trying to like strive for something or you're trying to heal
yeah.
yourself so you can feel better about
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
What I needed that Crump gave me was a chance to feel like shit, to feel all the difficult feelings that come from being the worst dancer in the room. And I needed to feel overwhelmed, like when I would take a class and it was way too much
So,
information and I couldn't process it all. And
yeah.
that, by the way, helped me see the mistake I was making in my teaching, where I was dumping way too much information on the students. But I
Mm,
realized like when the music comes on, the truth comes out. And
yes.
if you're not putting in the work, if your work ethics it needs improvement, it's going to show. Like Crump, in a way, it's like a black light in a way. It exposes what's there that's hidden. So if
Yes.
you're kind of full of shit, it's going to be obvious right away when you get out into the middle of the circle. And
Yeah.
I was full of shit in that way. I needed to see that about myself and
Yeah.
see like, okay, you can't just imagine yourself being a good dancer, and that's the same thing as being a good dancer. You gotta
Yeah.
grill for hours and hours. And one thing that was so helpful, and I'm saying this if there's any like beginners watching this, I was really confused in the beginning of Crump because I watched the 1.0 videos and I was, what did they know? They were young. I mean, they didn't know how to teach. They were figuring this out, right? But they would
Yeah.
show a move and then they would say lab on it. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
What do
What
you mean?
exactly am I going to do? What do you mean lab? There's this assumption that we're all clown dancers or poppers or something, and I wasn't. So I kept buying video after video after video, looking at all these courses, trying to figure out like how to start getting better. And one thing that was so helpful when I took your course was I had this realization. If you're taking somebody who has never written anything with a pen before ever, you don't say, go and express this paragraph or this thought. You need to show them the alphabet before they can
Yes.
write anything. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, forget all this stuff that I have learned in these videos. I am going to do what I did when I learned how to write, which is I'm going to do letters. And I started doing alphabet drills, which you talked about in your course.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
take like the letter A is what? It's 5 points and 3 lines, right? There's like the top here, and then it comes down. This is the connecting line, 2 points, one, two,
Yeah.
and then the down points. Three, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just
Yeah.
having those points like on your body, the top here, the two here, the three down here, you can spend a
Mm-hmm.
whole month on just that and make it look
Yep.
so cool. And no one will know you're making
Yep.
that mistake. If you can, like, you can go out and have name battles, like, you can just spell your name and it will look cool. And that was
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. That moved me forward. And what that did for me was it
I
showed
remember
me the value of, I think you said it was finding freedom inside of limitation, the value of high
that.
constraints. You narrow it
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
to one tiny thing, and then all of a sudden your creativity explodes out of you. So if there's
Mm-hmm.
any beginners watching this and you're like confused and you have no idea what to do, I would recommend somebody spend months on alphabet drills. You can you can do so much with it. So much.
So yes, totally. So much with it. And you can even get to the point where in these drills, you're not just drilling the letters, you're actually writing out what you want to say to people or affirm to yourself. For me, I've done a lot of work around using Krump to affirm who I am to myself. And like as you were saying before, like Krump really exposes you. Like Krump is a mirror. You can't come into Krump and just think you're a good Krump dancer. No, doesn't work like that. Like you have to make sure that you've spent time with yourself and with Krump, with the tools. Yeah, going back to like the new gen thing, people are so focused on Krump and material that they're actually forgetting what Krump was made for, which is expressing themselves. And yeah, that's what I was going to say about the whole new gen thing. Like they're very focused on Krump and they're missing the point of what Krump is actually meant for, which is self-inquiry, right? Understanding yourself, understanding how you move and all that kind of stuff. Like people are labbing in the same way still. Let's see what I can create. But even if you're it's like if you're continuously working, you're not actually breathing into your being and spending time with your being to see what it wants to share.
I think that there's still so much room for evolution in how we lab. And I know you drew a distinction between drilling and labbing. Drilling is like, bang, bang. You're doing repeated movements, getting it into your body, but labbing is coming up with stuff. If I was designing a Crumb class like for like kids, I've had these ideas come up for labs like, okay, let's take one thing in your life that really bothers you, you know, and then think about the memory of it. Like, let's say it's your father leaving. Okay, so think of the
Mm,
memory of it. Now, what's one feeling that you have? It's like confusion. Okay, and then what's one object from that memory? Maybe it's a door. We've talked about labbing with doors. You can do so much with just the
yeah.
door, right? You can put the door right in front of your heart and like, why isn't it
Yeah.
opening? Why, and you can do so much.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
But you take those three things, like that memory, the door, and the feeling, and then you create something with just those three things.
Yes.
And you can spin off a lot of stuff. But what I think would also be cool is, okay, let's say you're in a group of kids and you're like, okay, this guy just showed us what it was like for his dad to leave using the door and using this feeling. Who can think of a different feeling? And someone said anger. Okay, you come up here and show us the same thing, but switch the confusion with anger and show us how you would do it. And then the community can lab with you. And
Yes.
it's such a witnessing, you know,
Yes. 100%. Well, I love that you brought that up, bro, because to me, that's what want to see when I'm in a session. I want to witness you, right? Like you truly, I don't want to witness Crump. I want to witness you as a human, right? As a soul. We all have our shit. So tell me about that. Let me feel that pain. Let me feel that like depravity or joy or whatever it is. You just completely feeling yourself or whatever it is. Like that's such a beautiful word, bro. Like witnessing. And again, that goes back to people. Why are people still only just doing moves? The moves come from you, your being, your experiences. And that's what makes it real. That's what makes it like felt. For example, like movie stars, they know how to put on characters, but a really good actor, for example, like Will Smith, will do all the homework and will do his best to embody the character. In Krump, though, because it's a freestyle dance, because it's about you and the community, you sharing yourself with the community is one of the best things that you can do truly.
one thing that the witnessing does is when you're expressing the core of who you are, the part that you'd be afraid to show outside of Crump, like through words, but you're showing it, non-verbally through your movement, and you're being given hype and you're being given acceptance. What you're also doing is you're cultivating belonging in yourself that you can take with you wherever you go. When you have
Yes.
belonging in your heart, you'll feel belonging wherever you go. And
Yes.
and speaking of, that's actually my next question, which is I just have a couple more questions about the community. What role does the community play in terms of the transformative aspects of Crump, like in terms of
Mm,
challenge and support? Because the mistake I
mm,
made was I was just doing Crump alone in my living room. I didn't go. I was
right.
afraid to go to the sessions because they're intimidating,
Right.
and I didn't feel like I fit
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. It's important because, I mean, we're all obviously like social beings, right? We're in an ecosystem, and majority of us, whether introvert or not, we do need to socialize to some extent. And if you're a part of this Crump culture, the community is there to hold you, uplift you, and also when you need a slap to the face, you'll get a slap to the face to wake you up. That's what the community is there for. Going back to the hype, going back to the battles. Battles expose people's weaknesses. Just talking one on one to what to whoever you're battling. I can have a different type of battle every time I battle the same person,
Yeah.
opening them up, opening myself up in different ways, whether it just be creatively, whether it be I'm going through a really hard time mentally. How am I going to share that with the person so they understand it? And then they reply back to me with their story. Like, let's just share. Even though it's a battle and where, the ego can be involved and like double, like wins and losses are a thing. That's why I like street battles the most because you can go for as long as you want. There's no 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's a winner. Even though I think it's beneficial to have some sort of like win or loss to just to know where you're truly at and what you can do better. It's that positive reinforcement again. You need to know whether you are actually strong, how well you fend against hardship, and how resilient you are, and how hardworking or devoted you are.
You can't know who you are without an adversary.
Right, exactly. And I've been listening to a few people saying, like, if you don't have people opposing you, you will never grow. You will never know how to stand on your own 2 feet. So you need to have that. That's something that Crump provides. And if you continuously do the fake hype thing, your community is going to stay at a certain level. And I've experienced that. Just to kind of segue a little bit in regards to community is like in Crump, we have the fam aspect. You should work on your fam as much as your fam also works on you and exposes your BS. And if people aren't willing to accept that, then your fam's not really going to grow. Maybe on a skill level, right? Maybe on a Crump level, but as a human, they might not. As a authentic being, talking about personal development, they might not. And I think that community can mean so many different things. And it's obviously got the word unity in there. I've been sitting with this for a little bit. I believe in harmony more than unity because you're never going to really see a whole pride of lions united with another pride of lions.
Right.
You're not going to see zebras be homies with a lion. That's not going to happen, but they live in harmony.
Yeah,
And
100%. That actually brings up another question though I have about this. I've been connecting with people who are also older like me who got into Crump. I'm probably never going to join a fam. I want to do Crump for my own reasons. I do want to be able to go to the events and connect with people and
yeah,
have fun.
yeah,
How can someone participate in the community without getting so deeply involved in a fam
mm,
or doing pack outs or that, all this stuff? I think there should be different entry points. It's just like martial arts, there's people who take Taekwondo and then there's people who do MMA. And
yeah,
they're both
yeah,
martial arts, but they're very different expressions.
yeah, totally. I think there needs to be, this is why the individual aspirations and uniqueness come into play and is really healthy for Crump because everyone's different and everyone's at different points in the Crump journey. Everyone provides different spaces for and of Crump to the community. I think that it's just really important to find those spaces because they're there. If you want someone that's super heavy in Crump and only cares about looking good in Crump and that resonates with you, you can go to said person. If you want true self-expression and just like freedom of dancing, find that person, even if they are online, just so you feel like you belong and you feel safe somewhere. Not safe in the sense of like, oh, I can just be comfortable in this little space, but like still be safe to be who you are and who you want to be and who you want to cultivate. Yeah, it's definitely finding those spaces and also being okay with your why. And your why will always change. Even if your why stays the same for 5 years, even 10 years. But after that 10th year, something might flick and you might just be like, yo, I don't want to Crump for this reason anymore. I need to find a space that allows me to be that in that way. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that's an important piece is what is your reason why you're doing this?
Yeah.
I'm never going to be like an Instagram guy. I don't
Yeah.
care. but I care about taking the parts of myself that I've suppressed and put into the
Mm,
shadow. They call it the shadow, which is this part of yourself that you're not aware of. And
yep.
one way that you can, I actually put this in my notes preparing for this interview. When you're battling somebody, if you're trying to animate the shortcomings that you see in another person, like you're trying to do it through
Mm,
yourself and making fun of them, you are probably
yeah.
projecting. You're probably seeing something about yourself that you can't stand that you don't even know it exists, and it's driving you
Yeah.
crazy because you see it in them. That's the
Yep.
shadow. So we take part, like for example, somebody who was never allowed to express anger will put anger into the shadow, and then they will get triggered as hell by angry people, right?
Yep.
Because they can't
And
see that it's in them.
yep.
It is a law of consciousness at this point. I'm pretty convinced that the people who bother you the most, who make you can't stop thinking about them, they are animating something that you don't know you have. So Krump is a good way to see yourself through a lot of
Yep.
different
Oh, yeah.
mirrors. And my reason why I stayed in Krump, and I may still be involved. It's not battles, although that would be cool. I would like to do a dance battle. It'd be fun. But I wish there was like practice dance battle. Like you can do sparring practice in martial arts. I don't know how to go to like level one of a battle. It's either you're in some kind of session with a lot of people looking at you and there's cameras, or there's nothing. And it's
Yeah.
been tough to find something that is accessible for me, but I would like to do it. But my reason why for staying in Crump is that it became almost like a spiritual practice where I felt like I was channeling when I was moving,
Yes.
and it felt like such an honor to connect with something like that, to
Yeah,
connect with
man.
this intelligence that can move me, move through me, move as me.
Mm,
And I know that people who've been in it for a long time have experienced things like this. Crump is really interesting. Not only does it make you a better mover, but it helps you awaken. But it also, I really am convinced that it rewires your brain. It rewires your brain for increased creativity. If you're labbing just on a door, just the idea of opening a door, you can, what's a door, right? It's four corners and four lines. You can put the door on you,
Yep.
point, 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 and then you can try to open it, but it's not opening. And the door is blocking your heart. Well, why is your heart closed? Now you're going to add, why is your heart closed to your session, to your round? You
Yeah.
can bring up parts of yourself that you forgot about for your movements.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And through that, you become a more integrated person. One way to make sure that you stay stuck is to take the parts of yourself that you don't like and to suppress them. If
Mm.
you
Yes.
animate them instead, not by hurting other
Yes.
people and being a
Yeah.
jerk, but like by actually moving and expressing it, you bring those parts out to be witnessed and they integrate and you become
Yes.
a more whole human being.
Yes. I second everything that you said, and Crump provides that. Yeah, yeah, and so much more. I think that people just need to be a little bit more aware that all of this is happening. And I feel like people will treat Crump with the respect and reverence that it deserves. Like even just the people in Crump, if we're talking about the whole street dance community, I believe that every dance can do all the things that we're talking about, but it's not in their repertoire to do.
My opinion about how Crump will grow or die is it's going to decide on whether it's going to be decided on whether it's attractive to children, because
Mm,
that's who signs up for hip hop classes. That's why hip hop is so big. It's because kids take those classes, and the people who pay for those classes are parents. And so when when
yeah.
when parents look up Crump and they see people, talking crap about each other, it's like they don't see how their kid is going to benefit from this. What
Right.
needs to be shown is how Crump can grow your child like martial arts can. It can give them a
Mm,
way to express things they can't say in any other way. It can help them
yeah.
feel like they belong with a community of people. The old way of talking about Crump was like, who is the greatest? Who's got the biggest ego? Who else, who sucks compared to me? It's not attractive. Like it's not attractive to anyone but the people saying it.
I feel like you're 100% right. Being in Australia where there isn't actually that much culture and majority of kids play sports over an expressive outlet, it's been very challenging to keep kids in Crump. And that's okay, like no shade, no hate or whatever. But I think having Crump there in your life as a lifestyle choice, just like going to martial arts every week or whatever the case is hyper beneficial. It's so beneficial to have that healthy, expressive outlet for you to for you to express the things that you don't want to share or can't share or may not even have the knowledge of how to just activate your anger and then express it or release it, like there's so many different ways and practices, exercises. Yeah, I'll say practices that you can do to release and connect with your emotions and release them and stuff. But dance is the best because it activates everything. And at the same time, you can cultivate and unlock your brain in ways that create more space for you to change it and potentially even see the experience and feel the experience in a new way, in an empowered way. Yeah, I totally feel you on like the kids thing. Because I see like in Japan it's massive, you know, but the Japanese are just on another level. Like they just take everything and turn it into their own thing, which is so awesome. And obviously in the US, it's doing pretty well. New Zealand, it's also doing pretty well at the moment for us. I don't think we really have any kids in it, but I think you're 100% right. Like that needs to be worked on. And I've been racking my brain on how to put it out. And I think to be completely honest, I've kind of given up on it just on the youth tip for a couple years because we've had the curriculum set out and all that kind of stuff. But how do you actually explain this stuff to people that don't actually know what it does and trusting it? And then having people say yes to it that don't actually know what it is. Because I feel like to truly understand something, you need to be in it. You need to give it a chance. You can't just do one Krump class and be like, yeah, it's not for me, sorry.
Right, right. Well, it's about the teachers educating, the experienced teachers educating the lesser experienced teachers and helping it to spread. I know I saw a video the other day of Russell Ferguson. He shot this video where he's handing out karate belts to his students, and he has this thing
Yeah.
called Krump Fu. I actually think Krump could have a belt system where, like, because a white belt should only have. I used to take Taekwondo, and I've taken Krav Maga and Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do, all these different arts. The belt system is good because a white belt should only have white belt goals for themselves until they become a yellow belt. Then you can
Right.
focus on just like, oh, I'm not tight eyes. I guess I suck, right? No, you're a white belt. You're supposed to suck, but you can be a good white belt.
Right.
Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
when I was a white belt, when I was 9 years old, I had watched The Karate Kid, and it was cool to like throw punches, to learn how to stand, and to break a board, and that was it. And then you go
Yep.
around and you become little bits of complexity get added as you go. I don't know. I would be interested to have other people come on here and share their thoughts, about leadership and about what they've learned through Crump, because there are other dimensions besides just the dance.
Oh yeah,
And
100%. We haven't even gone into like I've been working on, and reflecting on and writing down how each foundation has its own lesson
hmm,
and then how to interconnect everything. And then even with the whole fam dynamic and like being a big homie and what that actually means or could mean to people and being a little homie, because people think that being a big homie is just in the dance. But if you're not doing like truly actively doing self-developmental work, you're doing your fam a disservice as a human,
right.
not as a dancer, but as a human. Yeah.
Yeah, totally get that. So if somebody wants to find you, where
Yes.
do you have, how do they find you, and what do you have available?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So I have Instagram. You can find me at the real Ian DeMello. There's only one. That's mainly where I do all of my work. Like I've got a lot of posts on there in regards to just what the freestyle mindset is, what I believe that it is, and what it can do. Um, from education on there, like I'm just doing all of this work, and I'm really committed to doing it because I believe in it, and I really do. I still do want it want to see more young people like healthy, mentally healthy. Because there's so many distractions and all that stuff. But that's the main one. I would say go there. I do also have a website. I'll share it with you so that you can put it in the description or whatever. Yeah, I have my coaching services, whether it be one-on-one. I am actually bringing back Buck, bro, which is super exciting soon. So yeah, that'll be really cool. That'll be online for now. I'm
That
super
was yeah, that was
excited.
the probably the best Crump course I took was Warrior Buck because I really think like Crump, even though it's urban, it's got like this feel of like Hakka. It
Oh yeah,
feels
hell
like
yeah, bro.
tribal, native,
Mm.
an indigenous something. There's something to it that's more than just like urban dance.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I've been wanting to figure out like how do I do Crump to that kind of music? There's very
Yeah,
powerful, deep drum music that you would see in like a
yes,
ceremony, and
yes.
Crump has a place in something like that. And I think your
Yeah,
course is the only thing I've seen that can teach you to do that, to
yeah.
integrate that kind of consciousness into your movement.
I love dancing to Krump. It obviously activates a certain energy and a certain aspect of oneself. And there's obviously different styles of Krump music. And it's really important to, and this is, again, this is why the session's so important too. You need to know how to run a session. You need to know the energy of the session and where you want to take the session. Not just about the music. The music is the guide. And I also teach what I do is teach people how to just rely on themselves and not the music because there's so many people that like whether it be in a battle or in the session, they're like, oh, the music's shit. Right. And even I get into that space sometimes as well. The work is how can I find myself in this music? Just because a beat's hard doesn't mean that you always have to hit the beat hard. There's times and places for that. And that comes with like understanding musicality, timing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, in regards to what you were saying before about the like deep drumming music and stuff like that. I would love for you to, if you can send me like the stuff that you really vibe with, that would be
Sure.
awesome.
Oh yeah. One
Um,
of my favorites is I think they're called Heilung, Heilung. It's very dark music, but there's nothing like it. And
okay, please send me
I'll
some
send it to
links.
you. Yeah, yeah. But I also want to restate what I said earlier because I want to make sure I'm being clear. Like
Sure.
I have no judgment against the kind of music that Crump is typically done to. It's just
Yeah.
it appeals to a certain kind of audience, and there are a lot of
Yes.
different kinds of people who could be part of Crump that didn't grow up in that part of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There are a lot like there are people like me who are like middle-aged guys who got tremendous value from it and who would pay for classes and who want to find teachers and to get better.
Yeah.
So I want to see Crump like move on to a bigger audience that I think it deserves. That movie
Yeah.
Rise touched a lot of people. There needs to be something new that can
Mm,
also touch a lot of people. I think we can all make videos now. We can all put high quality videos on the internet. I think there's
yeah.
something new needs to come along.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, bro. I'm working on it, man. I'm working on
Cool.
it.
All right, Ian, thank you so much for being here and having this long conversation with me. It means a lot to me. And I hope that this is valuable to whoever's watching this. If you made it this far to hear the Beyond the Buck thing, congratulations. This is a long conversation. I wanted to offer something different than what's currently out there because Crump is a really deep art form. And I don't see a lot of people talking about the nuances of how it can transform you, not just make you a better dancer, but transform you as a human being. So that's what this is about. And I really appreciate it. The first person I thought of was Ian DeMello to have on here for sure.
Thank you so much, bro. It was such a pleasure, and we definitely got to go into some other topics, bro. Thank you
Absolutely. I
for
want to
your
get a few people on here. Yeah, I think that would
yeah.
be cool to have a few of us.
Oh, that would be cool. Like a little panel discussion kind of thing.
Yes,
That would
yes.
be
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
much love. Stay work.